Prince Harry is massively deluded, in my opinion, especially when it comes to how the media operates and telling people that, oh, during this time period, that basically everybody who's writing anything negative about him is not an actual journalist and not doing a good job. In fact, there's so many other journalists doing great jobs, but oh, the people on the Daily Mail, the people like me, we're just terrible, awful, no good, very bad journalists. But Harry's wrong here. He's completely and utterly wrong about the media because the reason people like me, Taz, others are thriving is because of the changing in the media landscape. Because why? The media conglomerate itself has become so untrusted that even the upper echelon of people Harry tries to cite, like the New York Times, you could say, they're not trusted either. People like me are more trusted than a place like the New York Times in some instances. And the reason that is it's something that Harry is not acknowledging at all. Harry probably has no clue about because he lives in a bubble and has no clue how the real world actually works. But I'm going to explain it to you because as a member of the media, I feel it is my obligation to explain to you why this man is a little off his rocker when it comes to this subject. So we're going to get into this. But if you guys haven't been to Royal News Network before, hello, my name is Brittany and I provide compelling royal commentary. So if you guys want to hit that subscribe button, I would absolutely love to have you back. We have an amazing, fun time here. And so I am traveling around Europe right now. So I'm in my hotel, ticking ever closer to my checkout window. So we're maybe going to rush this video a bit. I do apologize, but travel calls. So let's go ahead though and get into this because this is, again, so important, guys. So important to really address what he's saying here.
Good afternoon. What I really don't like and what I find hard to make peace with is that there are some people on one end of the spectrum who are sitting behind their keyboards writing dangerous or defamatory headlines, knowing.
So what Harry is saying here is that the people are writing dangerous and defamatory headlines. Well, there's a reason he hasn't been able to sue them, and it's because they're not dangerous, they're not defamatory. Yes, maybe he doesn't like them, but they're not this terribly negative thing he's portraying it as. Oftentimes, we're just calling out their behavior. That's what they're doing. That's what I feel like I'm doing. It's like, I'm just calling out your behavior. I'm calling you out as deluded and dangerous. I did that in a whole video. The reason I did that is because I think that. I think you're citing and going about on crazy things that you don't really know what you're talking about. You're giving people horrifically bad advice. And I feel like as a member of the media that I want to call you out on it. And you can disagree with that. And of course, people say I'm not doing what I should be doing either. But that's neither here nor there. What I'm doing is saying, Harry, I don't trust what you're saying. So I'm going to put out there a different narrative because what Harry wants here is full on complete control. And that's so important to mention. He wants control. He doesn't want anybody to have a dissenting voice. And you'll hear this here. He doesn't want anybody to have a dissenting voice because he doesn't believe in it, really, at the end of the day. He doesn't understand what the First Amendment is. And yes, saying that you and your wife have nothing in common and you might end up breaking up at some point, that's not really defamatory. That's just how people, they look at you, they look at your life and go, ooh, that's rough. I don't know how they're going to make it. And that's just basic human observation. Another example is when I posted a picture of Catherine, the Princess of Wales, at the recent state visit. These are ones I personally photographed. I was looking through the lens at her, and I just remember thinking, wow, she looks really solemn today. Don't know why, but some people took this massively wrong. And I'm like, I'm just explaining to you what I saw. But people are also so sensitive to the media, even a basic observation like, well, she looks solemn because that is how I'm reading her expression. And somebody even called it clickbait. And I was like, it's not clickbait because that is what I read. Clickbait is not you just saying something that maybe catches people's attention. That's how I title my videos. I title them to catch people's attention, but clickbait is something where you try to capture people's attention and then the focus of the article or the video or whatever has nothing to do with what you portrayed on the thumbnail or in the title or whatever. That's actual clickbait, by the way. But I just found that so interesting because it's like, I'm just trying to explain a basic observation. People took it so wrong. So the media and being in the media is complex, but Harry here, he doesn't get it. So let's keep going.
That it's going to work as clickbait because any context in the rest of the article protects them and there's nothing you can do about it.
That's called writing, Harry. I don't know what else to tell you. That's called decent writing. So we talked it. We had the clickbait discussion. So it's not clickbait if you say something and it's in the rest of the article that you're talking about. That's not clickbait. Clickbait is you saying I'm talking about A when I'm actually talking about B. That's clickbait. So it's not clickbait. It is something people click on because your fall from grace is what's fascinating people. And that's not a good thing. Again, that's not a good thing, but that is a reality that he is dealing with. So he's just, again, though, so deluded on this, he doesn't see it. And he's a terrible person to explain media to people because he doesn't understand it. He thinks he does, but he does not.
And at the other end of the spectrum, you have Nobel Prize winners like Maria Ressa, who's literally putting her life on the line, and war correspondents who, again, are putting their lives on the line to bring us the truth.
Harry, even war correspondents lie, buddy. Even war correspondents have their bias. So your arbiters of the truth is just such an antiquated notion. If you're relying on the media to tell you the truth, then you're going to have a day that's going to slap you in the face. That's what's happened to, I would argue, some aspects of, you could say, the Democratic Party, because they were told they were going to win, and then they didn't win. And then they're like, but our media kept telling us we were going to win, and then we didn't win. Why? Because the media has a bias. It has an agenda, and it's willing to share that agenda and push that agenda to people. And some people can recognize it and some people can't. And you could say you don't like that I'm maybe going down this path. I don't really feel like it's anything because I feel like people should know this. This should be so obvious at this point. What is sort of going on in the media landscape? Now, people obviously can have differing opinions about that, but it is important to state that the media complex, the reason people don't trust the media anymore is because of the media, because people who are the quote unquote war correspondents or the Nobel Prize laureates also lie sometimes or mislead or leave things out, additional context that would be helpful because they have a particular agenda. That is 100% God's honest truth. If you don't look at every news story and think of the potential bias in it, then you're just going to be like a lamb led to slaughter. That's not really what's going to happen, but you're going to be taken for a ride a bit. Why? Because these people do have a vested interest sometimes in misleading you. They do. And I don't particularly consider myself in my camp. I'm just sharing with you my opinion, but I'm very careful to say, this is my opinion. You can take it, you can leave it. I show you my sources. I try to go through the articles, tell you my interpretation of it. Sometimes it's right, sometimes it's wrong. More often, at least on my channel, it's right. Some other people's, it's more often wrong. But that is what media is. So him going there and saying, oh, there's this venerated class who are now being subjected to the riffraff of like online voices like myself is just totally wrong. The reason voices like myself and others are rising is because the media has not done its job. That's the reason. That is the entire reason why X is so huge. That's the entire reason why the media conglomerates, all of them are dying, is because they went down a path where they were telling people and sharing their bias to such an extent that people stopped watching because they're like, oh, I know X news source is going to have this angle. So I know they're not going to give me the good information on this story. I know they're going to have this angle. And for guys, I just realized that there is a great example of this where everybody in the United States, or at least a good portion of people, even those who could say are on a particular side of the political line, are in on the joke of how biased our media is check out this clip from Stephen Colbert.
I know you guys are objective over there, that you just report the news as it is. Oh, I know. CNN makes a. I know.
Was that supposed to be a laugh line?
I wasn't supposed to be, but I guess it is.
All right, guys, that is a CNN anchor, and he's not making a joke, but everybody laughs. And the reason everybody laughs is because they all know that what he's saying is just not the truth. It's just that CNN is no longer considered a good source of information in a lot of ways. And so it is reflected in the fact that when it says, well, CNN's known for having objective journalism, the audience, which you would argue mostly probably leans liberal, laughed. They laughed at it. They thought it was funny. They thought it was a joke. And I think that's a great example of this phenomenon that I'm talking about. I mean, that's the whole reason Vox exists, Daily Wire exists, is to kind of be antithetical to the mainstream news outlets. And you can dislike either of them, doesn't matter. But that is sort of the truth. That's why we have now different silos of media, is because media has turned, vast majority of it, not all of it, so far left, that you need other people on the other side to counterbalance it. And that's not a good thing. I'm not saying that's a good thing, but that is the reality that's happened, at least here in the United States. Imagine other places as well. And That's not conspiracy theory or anything. That's just fact. And he's there going, well, media people like you and the New York Times, people trust you. People don't trust the New York Times. Why? Because the New York Times has its own obvious bias and people don't trust it because of that.
So that to me is the spectrum. And my life has been covered by this end of the spectrum, which I will be damned if those journalists are going to ruin journalism for everybody else because we depend on it so much.
So again, he's wrong here. He's totally misreading the situation. He's saying these journalists on the bad side, like the Daily Mail, people like me on the internet, we're the ones ruining journalism. No, journalism was already broken. We just came in and picked up the pieces. Journalism had already broken by that point. That is why alternative outlets exist, Prince Harry. That is why they exist, is because the mainstream news outlets stopped doing their job. They started going with their bias, pushing it too much. People got fed up and left and don't trust the media anymore. That is exactly what has happened. It's not because of the people over there covering you, because to him, everybody else, they have to be lying. They have to be lying all the time. No, maybe they're not. That's a scary thing because that's truly terrifying for him. If you think about it, what if the entire time your wife has been telling you, because I think in many ways, Meghan Markle has been telling Harry a slew of things that are inaccurate. What if he finds out someday all of it was a lie and that she directed people to tell him things that just simply were true? That is what he's dealing with here. And so he comes across here, I hate to say it, just a little unhinged and a little bit completely and totally out of line. And he goes, well, he gets emotional. I'll be darned if those people mess it up. Buddy, it's already gone. The trust in the media has collapsed. It's like in the dismal numbers. So no, the media complex is already dead and the media itself is what killed it.
You did say in your book, you said, I began to think at some point that Murdoch was evil. You've had very strong words about Rupert Murdoch and what you think he did in this phone hacking scandal. What is the goal of this lawsuit, which has been ongoing now for a very, very long time?
So it's a great question. And it's been going on a long time because I should say Harry is totally deluded about the case. He's totally deluded about the outcome that's going to happen. Like, even if he wins, nothing's going to change. Like, he thinks he's on this great crusade. He's like, in the middle of the forest hacking at trees who he thinks are dragons. Like, nobody's going to change based on this case. If Harry thinks he's going to change things, he has another thing coming. Because this is not going to make the public reputation of himself and his wife any better.
The goal is accountability. It's really that simple.
1,300 people.
So he says the goal is accountability. Accountability for what? They've already admitted their phone hacking. What is the accountability? They've already admitted fault. They've already admitted it. What else are you going to get out of them? And what else are you going to change about something that happened years, decades ago? Like, let's be real.
People, from what I've read, have settled with
because
the Murdoch folks. And of the 40 claims that originally joined with you in this action, it's down to now 2.
Because everybody else saw the writing on the wall and thought this was a pointless endeavor and just wanted it to go away. Because even if Harry wins, if he doesn't win enough to cover the legal costs of the entire case, guess what? He's on the hook for everybody's bills. So he might potentially owe millions upon millions of dollars for this case. I think I even saw estimates maybe upwards of like close to maybe even $10 million between the two lawyer sides. Like, this is getting insanely expensive and he'll be on the hook for all of it. And that might be what bankrupts him, Meghan, is these court cases. He should settle because he's not going to fix it. He's not going to fix it. He is sad and deluded. I just don't get it. And yeah, your life has been hard in some ways, but this seems like just this vindictive vendetta with no clear purpose.
And so you think that everybody's just settled because it just doesn't make any economic sense to continue?
No.
Yes, because they're smart and he's not.
I know why people have settled. They've settled because they've had to settle. So therefore, one of the main reasons for seeing this through is accountability, because I'm the last person that can actually achieve that.
So like his savior complex here, what if you don't achieve it? Then the entire purpose is for naught. Then you've lost everything. Like, it's so incredibly obvious and so incredibly dumb that he doesn't see this. It's insane to me that he does not see this, how crazy this is.
And also closure for these 1,300 people and families.
He's wanting closure for himself, but they're not going to get closure. They're not going to get closure. he's just going to be on the hook for millions of dollars. That's what's going to come out of this. There's not going to be any closure because they've already closed it. It doesn't really matter. Like, this is just sheer insanity. And that's the thing. Harry has no clue how the media works. He has no clue what's really going on. And yes, maybe sometimes the royal family made deals with the media. So does every other flipping public figure. Like, I'm sorry, am I supposed to, feel bad that sometimes the royal family, in order to get good coverage, sometimes negotiated with the media? That's what every stinking public figure does. That's what they all do. Again, Harry is under, I think, the impression based on everything. And it was magnified, I think, by the royal family's reaction to Meghan. They didn't like Meghan. Harry couldn't figure out why. And so he blamed the media. And he's gone on this media crusade. And she was upset by the media. And so he's just kept going down and down and down and down this path because it's like he can't fix it. What if he can't fix it? What if there's nothing to fix? What if it's always been this way and always will be this way? Because that's the media. And the media complex died long before Harry got into the picture, long before Rupert Murdoch. I mean, he might have contributed part of it. I don't know. But the real collapse of media trust has nothing to do with this court case, nothing to do with Harry, nothing to do with the Daily Mail, nothing to do with people like me. It was the media itself who were caught in misinformation, in lies. I mean, you just had the CNN headline once, fiery but peaceful protests in, I think it was Wisconsin or whatever, when there's a massive blaze and inferno behind the guy. And it's like, that doesn't look peaceful. We have eyes. That doesn't look peaceful. And the reality that's coming is that Harry might still win this, but even if he wins, nothing's going to change. Everybody's still going to go back to status quo. Why? Because this was a case over something that happened years ago. So they have no incentive to change at this point. They've already changed. So how's their accountability? They've changed already. Like, what is he going to get out of this? He's just, I think, so deluded and so hoping, I think, to get maybe a win is how you would describe it. I don't know. He's really letting his delusions show. And his family told him he was deluded multiple times. Like, I mean, there's been multiple cases of delusion for Harry at this point. And you read at the end of his book, and that came across too. So I may try to get to a deeper dive of this video, but I am going to be going to Denmark later today for the state visit between Denmark and Egypt coming up in the next day or two. So I don't know when I'll get to edit this, hopefully sometime soon, because I feel like this is such an incredibly important topic. And Harry has so twisted this into something it's not. And even though he's railing against misinformation, he's the ultimate purveyor of misinformation. Him and Meghan have also lied to the media. You can't claim to superiority and savior complex when you yourself have also been caught in numerous lies. So guys, let me know what you think of this video. Thank you so much for watching, and I shall see you very soon. Bye.